as you guys look at it, all the information, the data that you have going into this, what are you most looking forward to? What are we anticipating? Is this just going to be Red Bull's deal and everything else?
If I'm being completely honest, I think it is going to be a Red Bull victory. But this is the thing about Formula One, isn't it? We can go through all the data, we can go through trying to pick out all the fast laps in testing and the long runs and what they mean, and then it can all turn around on the night in this in this sense for the Bahrain Grand Prix. So I'm hoping we get some surprises up and down the grid. And like I said before, it is an unusual circuit. So just because we have let's say a dominant Red Bull victory here doesn't mean that's going to be the case throughout the year. Don't forget that this time last year, Ferrari were the star performers coming out of testing. They went and won the first race. After 3 races, Charles Leclerc had a massive lead in the Drivers' Championship, and ultimately it all turned around. So, it can change over time. Just because we have a one-sided race in Bahrain doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. But you have to say, considering how impressive Red Bull were, and this is the thing, Red Bull don't tend to get it wrong as well. Nate and I were talking about this earlier in the week, that if we had it the other way around, where it looked like the Ferrari had the pace and the Red Bull was catching up, then that would make for a really exciting dynamic, because we know that Ferrari on a number of occasions last year struggled with strategy, struggled with reliability, dropped points. So if they had a fast car but were dropping points, it'd be great. And Red Bull, you expect to be immaculate in races. But look, these things do change sometimes. Ferrari have certainly tried to address that. They made some changes to their pit wall as well going into this first race, which previously they told us they weren't going to do. So clearly Fred Vasseur has got himself there. He's looked at what went wrong last year, and he's not afraid of making changes. So if there's a sign of hope for Ferrari fans that they will be able to challenge Red Bull over the course of this year, it's that they have a new boss in there who's clearly willing to make change if he thinks they need to make it.
Getting some PTSD there when Lawrence mentioned Leclerc's big title lead last year. I mean, I still can't believe he lost. He didn't win the championship that year. But I think it's going to be important for fans to just kind of temper their expectations after the first race, because we have such a long Formula One season now. And one thing I wrote today, we had everything, your guide to everything you need to know about the season on ESPN.com, and I said that even though Max does look like favorite right now, the pace is ominous. Let's not forget about that wind tunnel penalty that Red Bull have later in the year. They have the least amount of wind tunnel time anyway. They've got that penalty. So if Ferrari and Mercedes, especially Ferrari, if they're in a good spot in terms of they're not too far away, if they can outdevelop Red Bull during the season, if they can just make sure Max doesn't completely, obliterate them early on in that point standings, then it might get interesting later in the year. And we saw last season the issue that Ferrari had was that they just did not win after the summer break, and Max just ran away with it. So if they can just keep him honest, if they can just, stack up some wins when the car maybe isn't the best, then I'm going to keep some hope that maybe we can see the title going into the latter part of the season. But yeah, Bahrain, if Max wins it by 50 seconds, it's going to be very difficult next week for us to say that. But I think, it's worth keeping that in mind. But yeah, in terms of what I'm looking forward to most, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but Fernando, I'm already backing him for a podium. Lawrence has had to calm me down a few times. I'm like, I'm all in on this, mate. I'm all in. But I think it's just going to be great, and hopefully we can see some really cool wheel-to-wheel racing, because Bahrain actually has thrown up some really great races in the past. And yeah, so hopefully we get more of that this time.
Do you know what time it is? It's prediction
time. Best part of the pod and the season.
And this is being tallied. The records are being kept and compared throughout the entirety of the season, gentlemen. Who would like to go first? Basically. Receipts on my handy dandy notepad.
I'll jump in.
Okay.
I'll jump in straight off the bat.
1, 2, 3.
So I'm going to be boring, and then I'm going to be very, very hype trading.
Oh, we know where this is going.
You say Max to win ahead of Charles, and then dum. I mean, you know where this is going, right? Fernando Alonso.
I've already written it down.
I really think. Yeah. It didn't even, people listening would probably fast forwarding. Like, I know he says Fernando. Don't even need to listen to this. But yeah, I mean, that would be a mega way to start the year. I know it's Max winning, but yeah, I think that would be fantastic. I don't think Charles got it. I think Ferrari, could win it, but who knows? Like Lawrence said, it's difficult to predict individual races. So yeah, Max, Charles, Alonso would be awesome to start the year.
Lawrence, do you think that's fair? Or do you think that's shit?
No, I think that's. I think I'll go with fair over. Okay. Yeah, it's a good prediction. It would be a great race to watch. My prediction is going to probably be a bit more dark. I'm wondering whether to actually. No, actually, I'm going to make it interesting. I'm going to say Sergio Perez wins the race. Something happens.
Oh, nice.
Happen. Not sure what. And then we have Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc.
Lewis and
Which is really out there. I mean, nothing about testing suggests that's going to be the result. Nothing about what we know about Max Verstappen and how good he is suggests that's going to be the result. But I was just thinking back to last year when, you know, Max had the issue, had to retire the car, as did Checo that year in Bahrain. So, yeah, why not have like a bit of unreliability start of the season to kick things off?
Bold predictions.
Give Max, you know, a little bit of a little bit of something to overcome over the next few races as well. It'd be nice to see.
I love it. I love it. Okay.
I think the season needs a few early DNFs for Max, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And you know, that's not me, you know, saying I want the guy to crash, obviously, but you know, if he can hit some issues in terms of car stuff, then I think for the whole season, or for all of F1, we'd be very, very grateful because, you know, it would make it fun. You know, he's fighting back from a deficit. But yeah, it might just help us with some of that hype, you know, long term.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.